Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, New Release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It is the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofcruising.net. It helps support the channel through our partnership with Where's Walters Travel. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul. And this week, I am delighted to welcome on the Joy of Cruising podcast a special guest from somewhere in the world. Todd Truax, a passenger on Royal Caribbean's ultimate world cruise on Serenade of the Seas, which departed Miami December 10th, 2023. Todd, along with his wife Gina, are 2/3 of the way through the world cruise and is scheduled to disembark in Miami on September 10th, 2024. The Ultimate World Cruise, a social media and mainstream media sensation, is scheduled for 274 days and is divided into segments. Within each of the segments are a number of wonders of the world. The first segment is the Ultimate Americas Cruise. 64 nights from December 10th, 2023 to February 11th, 2024. 36 destinations, including Cozumel, Rio de Janeiro, and Los Angeles. The second segment is the Ultimate Asia Pacific Cruise. 87 nights from February 11th to May 9th, 2024. 40 destinations, including Hawaii, Philippines, and Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. The third segment is the Ultimate Africa and Southern Europe segment, 63 nights from May 9th to July 10th. 38 destinations from Dubai to Barcelona. It includes Seychelles, Cape Town, Dakar, and Nice. And among the wonders of the world includes the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Temple of Artemis. And the final segment is the Ultimate Europe and Beyond Cruise, 63 nights from July 10th to disembarkation September 10th, 2024. 40 destinations in the final segment, including Casablanca, Paris, Belgium, and Greenland. Welcome, Todd, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you, Paul. Glad to be here.
So, how you doing?
I'm having a great time.
Really?
Having a great time.
How's Gina faring on Serenade?
She's doing well. I had my doubts at first. She wasn't fully committed like I was when I booked this almost 3 years ago now. But she's coming along. She's adapted well.
Yeah, well, I envy you. I would love to be doing what you're doing, but my wife would never. we went on our first transatlantic just a few weeks ago, and
how'd that go?
And the first 8 days were sea days. And she was like, by day 8, she was like, land, I need land. So she won't be, we've gone on long cruises, but they've always had, we went on a 12-day, I think, in the Mediterranean. And I think 10 days were were port stops. So she was fine with that. But so anyway. So, Todd, before we get into the cruise and your cruising background, tell our listeners about yourself in general. Where you're from, where you live, professional background, say something about your family, or anything you would like to share.
All right. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I settled down in Southwest Florida, Fort Myers area in late 90s. So I've been there about 25, almost going on 30 years. Met my wife down here. We have two great kids. My daughter's in Missouri. She graduated FGCU, and my son is all over America driving a semi. He's just hit 28 or 29 on his birthday in May. And cruising, we didn't do a lot of cruising. We just because we were working. My wife works for the state of Florida, and I run nursing homes and assisted livings. So my vacation was pretty limited as far as a couple weeks a year. So we did little Caribbean cruises for the most part, and hopped on whatever cruise line was going when we wanted to go.
So when and on what ship was your first cruise?
Oh, it had to be the Eastern or Western Caribbean. Could be a Carnival. We've done Princess and Norwegian, and I think we've done Royal as well. But we didn't have enough points. We had to have like 7 excursions thrown in for this trip. We had to have 30 days at sea with Royal, and so we had to hurry up and get those days at sea before we came up on this trip. So we did a trip to Alaska. We did one from Boston to Canada. We did another Caribbean cruise just to get up to 31 days.
Okay. So having those days, that had an impact on what you could do on this cruise. Help me understand that.
They threw in 7 wonders of the world.
Oh, okay.
So Chichen Itza, Taj Mahal, the Colosseum. Was supposed to be Petra and Christ the Redeemer, but we had to reroute with the political activities out in the Red Sea.
Okay.
And originally we were supposed to go to St. Petersburg and Odessa too. Machu Picchu was on the list, so all those were supposed to be included as excursions on the trip if you had your 30 days with Royal before a certain date.
Okay.
Before departure.
Okay. So going back to that first cruise, if I can ask, how old were you then?
Probably in my
30.
30s.
Okay. Well, so what were your initial impressions? Did you get hooked, or did it have to grow on you?
It was probably Carnival, so it was just like a fun booze cruise, kind of, Bahamas and back kind of thing. So it went pretty quick, and there was a lot of eating, a lot of drinking, and it wasn't so much about the destination as the party on the boat.
How soon did you cruise again?
It was a while because I used to do a lot of road trips up to Cleveland back and forth to go see family. So I'd stop in the Carolinas, or I'd stop in West Virginia, or different places to see family along the way. So cruising, I didn't get bitten by a bug or anything, at all, really. It was just another different form of vacationing, and once I saw the World Cruise, though, I couldn't help myself, and I signed on. They listed it in October, 2 years before departure, and then I signed on, I think, that month.
So
Put the deposit down.
So it sounds like, you weren't like super hooked on Cruella. You liked it and all of that, but it doesn't sound like you were a committed cruiser. What was your motivation to go on the
Well, it's kind of a compromise. Now that I'm married, I started out travel as a backpacker, so I'd be happy sleeping on a beach, or in a bunk bed with a bunch of other strangers. I didn't mind. I just wanted to be somewhere else and get to see the world. But my wife, she likes hair dryers and granite countertops and ample shopping. And so this was kind of my compromise, because I would have preferred to just buy a sailboat and do it on her own. But there's no way she's gonna go get the jib, rope and pull up the sail in the middle of the night in a storm.
So was there any special motivation? I mean, you mentioned compromise. How did you and Gina decide to sail the Ultimate World Cruise?
Well, I decided for us, and then months later, she decided to come along. I was working on a list of. I was working on my list of alternates to take her spot. I said, I'm going either way. It's going to cost me the same no matter what. And she was still working full time. I was working full time. But I knew there was no other way to get to see the world, but then this way, because she wasn't going to sit in a plane for 20 hours to go, halfway around. And, we don't have to move our luggage and drag our luggage around other than that first time to Miami and then back.
So you sounded very committed.
Yeah.
You said you were going to go whether she went or not. What was your motivation?
I wanted to see the world. I've seen a lot of the states, and I've been to England, and I spent 9 weeks in Australia. I did a week in Fiji. That week in Fiji was better than the 9 weeks in Australia because we stayed with the villagers in the grass huts, and we hiked the trails to the rainforest and everything. I really enjoyed that backpacking experience and staying in a tent and all with my friend. But that was 30 years ago, and I'm a little thicker and stiffer now.
All right. Did you set any personal goals you hope to achieve during the trip?
I had some. I want to see an active volcano. I wanted to ride a camel. I thought I wanted to ride an elephant.
Let me interrupt. Did you do any of those three things?
I did ride a camel. The elephant stuff, the more I saw it, the more it seemed like animal cruelty, so I didn't want to be part of that. Somehow I wound up sitting on an ostrich too. I wasn't planning on that. Just kind of happened.
Yeah, I interviewed someone recent, and they went on. They were a world traveler like yourself now, and they mentioned riding an ostrich, and that just sounded weird to me because
I'm over 250.
when I picture an ostrich, don't they have like really really thin legs?
They have very very strong legs, very strong legs. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you didn't get to see a volcano, huh?
Not yet, but I think there's one bubbling out here by Sicily somewhere, and then we're heading to Reykjavik. So I had reservations for the Blue Lagoon, and if so far 2 of the 3 roads are blocked with lava. So and then we went up to Mauna Loa in Hawaii and saw that volcano, and then the one behind it blew after we left. We got to see the devastation over the lava flow. We went to the car and went out to the barren wastelands of just black cracked lava, and it was quite revealing what devastation it brings.
Yeah, that's interesting. I went to Hawaii. I guess it was, I don't know, last year sometime maybe, and we went to a volcano. And we could see it. Just kind of glowing.
Yeah.
And we took some pictures. We got up pretty close to where it was glowing, and then when we got home, like what you pointed out, it blew. And so I somewhere on Facebook I have a photo of when we were there, and then a photo of the same place like 6 weeks later, and it's totally total devastation. I mean, I don't think anyone got there were any casualties, but it blew.
Yeah. It's awe-inspiring.
Talk about one thing now. Many of our listeners, I'm sure, haven't experienced Serenade. So before you get into or talk more about the trip, just say something about Serenade.
Serenade's a Radiance class, Royal Caribbean, one of their smaller ships. I think there's like five or 6 of these. Holds 2,000 passengers, about 1,200 crew. Right now we're running 1-to-1 as far as crew to passengers.
That's nice.
A lot of folks jumped ship when we got rerouted, but we'll be full up again come Ravenna, Italy. They've got specialty dining, the chops, the Izumi, the Giovanni's, and the chef's table, and then several bars, a couple pools, a kids area. So it's got enough for us.
Have you gone to the specialty restaurants multiple times?
Last night I went to Chops with a buddy of mine. Our wives went out to the spa for some sort of facial treatment. I don't know what the heck they did. So we had the 16-ounce ribeyes, and and we ate real well, and drank well too.
Had a Father's Day. Sounds like you had a Father's Day
Yeah, we had a
dinner.
guys' night out before Father's Day. Today's Father's
Yep,
Day for
yep.
us.
Talk about the Ultimate World Cruise in general. Mix of passengers, friends you've met, memorable onboard experiences.
We didn't expect to have so many TikTokers on board and to have the world's attention when we first got started. There's some folks that have huge followings, and others that have developed the huge followings after we've got going, and they've been interviewed on television around the TikTokers. Yes, there's a young lady from South Africa. Her mother was on Real Housewives of South Africa, and she and her husband, the daughter, go all around and make these great videos and spend hours and hours, editing them and cutting them down. And that's not how I would want to spend a vacation. Show my trip. I'll take pictures and post them on Facebook, but that's pretty much the extent of my social media.
Now, do you happen to know her?
Yeah, her dad, her mom. Her dad and I will chat up in the smoking section on the deck 11. And then her mom kind of keeps to herself, but we see her in the laundry room in different areas. And then there's another girl who goes by the name of Rat Brain Girl. She and her mom are traveling together. And they've gone on several excursions with us. Who else is there? There's a doctor, lady doctor.
The woman you mentioned who's on the Real Housewives of South Africa. If you run into her, put in a word for me. Tell her I'd love to chat with her.
All right. You want the beautiful daughter, or do you want the mother who's on that TV show?
Well, the daughter is the TikToker, right?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. But
the father's kind of like a mini Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's always in the gym, pumping iron.
Or I can get the mother and the daughter, or the mother, daughter, and father. So whatever you can do, I'd appreciate it. But of the TikTokers, I have had. It hasn't aired yet, but I have interviewed what I think is the most popular of them all. She goes by the title "I Am Brandy Lake." Do you know her?
I think so.
She's there with her sister and her parents.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's been on, I mean, you name it, Today Show, Washington Post, New York Times, BBC UK, BBC Africa. But she made me feel good because she said that my questions were much more in depth than theirs. So when that episode airs, I'll send you a link. Yeah, I'm sure you know who she or have run into her, especially on a ship. But sounds like everybody knows everybody. It's only we said 1,000. I'm so fascinated by this. You've got the world's attention. It's like a laboratory of people, and interactions. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little reality series. But we'll see.
There's folks. Most of the folks are in their 70s or 80s. My wife and I are in our 50s still. There's some younger couples here and there scattered about. Not too many. I have 9 months of free time. There's a few families too. There was about 30 kids originally that signed on, so they're doing homeschool.
So I have this overloaded bucket list, and I could have checked off probably half of what's on or most of what's on my bucket list had I been on this one cruise. So talk about highlights of your favorite port stops.
Canary Islands were beautiful. Taj Mahal was amazing. Getting there was one heck of a trek. We wound up taking a bus because originally the cruise line chartered a train, but chartered private trains get sidelined while the main trains go on. So the trains where they pack 30 people, in a 6-person booth, and put them on top of the train and hanging off the sides in the back. Those trains get priority over the private charter train. So they had like a 6 or 7 hour train ride, which should have been like 2 or 3. So they decided to keep us on the buses. So we got to see the fort and the Taj. We were disappointed we didn't get to see the Machu Picchu. There's Incan ruins all over Pisco and the city, but they had a strike, and apparently there's like an annual strike in January, February, where the locals riot and they want a bigger share of the tourist dollars. So right after we left, the strike was over.
Wow. Wow, that's too bad. Now, when you say the local, I mean, it wasn't violence, was it?
They blocked the roads, they blocked the train. It wasn't violent, no. But there's been other times where they had a strike and the tourists get stuck up on the mountain and they have no way to get back down other than on foot.
Oh, that sounds discomforting. Talk about some other favorite port stops.
Rio was amazing. We were there for New Year's and the fireworks.
Oh, wow.
We got up to the Christ the Redeemer statue. That was fantastic. And up through Chichen Itza. The ABC Islands I'd never been to before.
Now, when you say ABC Islands, is that Aruba?
Aruba,
Curacao,
Barbados, Bonaire, Curacao.
Okay, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao. Yeah. We're going to the ABC Islands in a few months. We did our honeymoon in Aruba, and we've never been back. So that's the standout stop for us. Although I've been to Curacao, don't think I've ever been to Bonaire. But you like that, huh?
Yeah, that was beautiful. Hawaii was amazing. I wish we had more time there. Hong Kong, we loved Hong Kong. I got to go on the bullet train there.
Yeah.
And zip around up to Kyoto from Tokyo. And I really enjoyed that.
I interviewed someone recently, and with all the stuff that they got to see, I was asking for highlight in the Far East. I was asking for highlights, and the first thing they're talking about was the bullet train.
Yeah, and we also got to see Mount Fuji and the cherry blossoms going on, and they got us up on the Great Wall, and at night it was all lit up, and they had a huge show for us there. It was just awe-inspiring. And then what else did we do there? Oh, we do the Forbidden Palace too.
Now, where is that?
So, well, that's in China, in Beijing.
Why is it called the Forbidden Palace? I'm not familiar with that.
It's the Forbidden City, I think. That's where the emperor stayed with all his consorts and concubines, etc. Right in the center of the city. It's not too far from Tiananmen Square. I did drive by the Tiananmen Square and that big bubble building where they had the pool for the Olympics, and then we saw the bird's nest too for the Olympic. Yeah,
that's a gorgeous facility. Sometimes when I go on relatively long cruises, nothing like you, and that are port intensive, we always go to some place that I say, I want to come back here on a land trip. I never do it, but I always say that. What places have you been to that in your mind you plan or would like to go back to and spend some quality time?
My wife really enjoyed Japan, and there was so much to see and so much to do, and it was easy to navigate. I think I'd like to go back there. Dubai and Abu Dhabi were amazing. We got to go up in the Burj, up in the observation tower of that. So many amazing things. I'm sure Europe is going to be back on the list again, because we got diverted around Africa. We didn't get to cut up to the Suez Canal, so we're missing out on Petra and the pyramids and Jerusalem and Athens. So we definitely have to come back for that, whether it's a cruise or whatever, private tour.
What part of the world are you? When I did my introduction, I said talking to Todd somewhere in the world. Where are you?
Well, this morning we woke up off the coast of Algiers, and then later on we were just passing by Sicily. So we're on the starboard side, so we're looking south to Africa, and we're on our way to Corfu, Greece. We'll be there tomorrow late
Okay,
morning.
okay. Let's talk about one of my favorite subjects. First, how's the food? Well, we kind of
Ooh,
alluded to this already. But how's the food? You've been to Chops a couple times.
food's been fabulous. I had the rack of lamb today. I had a 16-ounce porterhouse steak yesterday. We had Kobe beef in Tokyo, just outside of Kobe, Japan. Thankfully they don't have the camera working because I'm wearing an extra 25 pounds since the cruise started. Yeah,
So the Kobe beef that was on the land portion of the Japan
yeah, that was
trip.
where we're just outside of Tokyo here.
Yeah, I've never had Kobe beef. How was it?
Very expensive. It was good. They made quite a show out of it. There's some guy from England that just flew in for like business trip, and he was at the steakhouse that we were at.
Uh huh.
You have to make reservations ahead of time. They cut it up there for you right in front of you. And you pay by the gram or something. It was not cheap.
Pay by the gram.
Yeah.
What about food in general? Have you and Gina tried much? Well, you just talked about the Kobe beef. What are some of the other port stops?
We've tried a lot of different things. There's a real foodie on the cruise, and she got in Peru. The number one restaurant in 2023 was in Peru, and she got in there. She was trying for months to get a reservation, but she bumped into the vice president
Get
of
out.
Peru, and he pulled out his phone and made her reservations for that restaurant at that time. So she got to go there. Those restaurants where it's all smoke and mirrors and puffs of foam and really culinary arts. So I'm supposed to hang out with her somewhere, I think in Amsterdam or something. The new list of top 50 restaurants came out. So my wife doesn't go for that kind of stuff, but I'm looking forward to hitting one of those restaurants soon.
Wow. Is she a food writer for a paper or anything?
I'm not. She's traveled the world. She's done so many different restaurants she's been to, and the fine dining place. Her husband's is kind of the same way. He'd rather have a cheeseburger and fries. So my wife would rather have a salad and a chicken cutlet. So I'm gonna hook up with a lady and go do some fine dining. And I did another little adventure with a couple other ladies. We went to see the Magic Flute at the Sydney Opera House. So my wife's not into that. So there's other people you can partner up with to go on these different excursions.
Now, one thing I always ask world travelers, and you certainly qualify as a world traveler now, have you tried any exotic food in the ports you visited?
And where were we? In Cusco, they had guinea pig. that was a main dish. That was something that a lot of the locals ate. You see live guinea pigs like in a mass, like they have 30 of them in their one room, living room, bedroom, kitchen area. Um, I did not partake of that. I did have squid on a stick in Tokyo and from one of the street markets.
Squid on a stick.
Yeah, they cook it
Okay.
on like a grill, put a stick through it, and it's street food. And they have octopus balls and different things. In India, we were really careful about I, I I could use an intestinal tapeworm, but I don't want to. I really don't want to use that as my weight loss method. So we played it safe.
I have fun with that question with some people who travel all over the world. I've heard the most exotic I've heard is monkey brains.
Monkey brains. I've seen some folks have had the puffer fish from some of the sushi places. I don't want to take a chance.
Now, the puffer fish, is that the one where it can kill you if you eat the
Yeah,
wrong part of the fish?
yeah,
Oh my goodness. And you had people who tried that?
yeah. They're on the cruise. Yeah, one of the guys, Anthony is his name. I think he tried that. He's a big TikToker too. He's a DJ, I think, out of Atlanta area. He's danced with Rihanna and Lil Nas X and all kinds of people all around the world. He's a big deal in music.
Oh, give him my name.
He's a cool guy.
So, what do you do in your me time when you're not cruising around the world?
I've been reading big, thick books. I like this historical kind of novels. This one's about England, from the caveman up to the kings and popes. I'm about that far with that.
Well, I tell you, that. For the listeners. Todd is showing me the book he's reading, and it looks like the thickest book I've seen.
I got a second from that same author. What's his name? This one's called Serum. It's from Edward Rutherford. And the next one's London. But we like I said, we've got great internet, so we'll watch Netflix series. We just finished watching The Veil. We'll watch movies on TV. I'm watching the Only Murders in the Building and different things on Hulu. So we've had awesome internet connections. And we each have one connection for each of us. I haven't learned how to use the router to break it up into more, but two's enough. Whether we're on the iPhone or the iPad or the laptop, it works out.
I know for many people, this is a trip of a lifetime, and this is sort of you can't top this, and probably don't have any plans beyond it. Do you? What do you have any travel booked?
I was talking to my wife about next year in May. I'd like to go backtrack and go hit the pyramids and Petra and those Greek islands that we're missing out on. So I was really looking forward to that. In Athens. We'll see. She misses the dog. She misses the house. My cousin's been staying at the house, keeping the dogs and the bird alive, and running things around the house. But kind of nice to miss the hurricane season.
Yeah, I don't miss that about Florida at all. I don't think I'll ever completely forget the 8 or 9 days in an August, or I guess it was August, with no air.
That sounds like Hurricane Charlie.
Yeah, no air, no internet, no
power. Oh, that's how it was for us. We couldn't even jump in the pool because the pump was down, and the HOA shut it down because they didn't have the pool pump going.
Well, with this trip, you probably have checked off most of it, but do you have a travel bucket list?
Well, we keep watching people going to Mars. It's like, if there's going to be a space hotel, I'd like to spend a weekend up there. That'd be cool. The moon, whatever.
Okay, you sound like an adventurous. Well, Todd, I appreciate so much you coming on and giving us a taste of what it's like to travel around the world. But before we let you go, though, a couple of light, or dare I say, fun cruise questions. First one's pretty easy. I use this to steal ideas, and I get a lot of good ones. So what's your favorite, and it doesn't have to be on this cruise, but in general, what's your favorite cruise drink and cruise food?
Cruise drink. Well, I have a new goal because I'm drinking from every bottle in the bar. So I've done the first top shelf, and I'm working on the second shelf. So today I'm finishing off a Negroni now. And cruise food, I enjoy the steaks and the I had the rack of lamb today. That's my favorite.
So when I asked you earlier, did you set any goals for this trip? There's one, checking off the top shelf of the bar.
I drink out of every one of those bottles. Now I'm working the second shelf.
Mm-hmm. You know, I
and after that I'll work on the wines in the wine bar.
You know, I get, as I alluded to, I get food and drink suggestions from people, like you, guests on the show. And I did have a guest a couple of episodes ago, well, I guess a few weeks ago, and she mentioned Negroni. And so I had not had a Negroni, so I made sure I ordered one I just got back from a cruise a couple of weeks ago.
I'll tell you my favorite drink. I was at this cigar bar in Tampa. I like cigars once in a while. So it's an old church they turned into a cigar place. Fuentes have it. And all the things are church related. So this drink is called the Bishop's Bond. And it's my favorite drink, and I keep the recipe I copied from the bar on my phone. 1 ounce of Jack bonded, 1 ounce of Dow's fine tawny red port, and then 3/4 ounce of Montenegro. You pour it in a rocks glass with a big rock of ice and an orange peel. You wipe around the rim. That's my favorite drink. It's called the Bishop's Bond. And anywhere I go, I try to get that. I'm gonna have to get my own bottle of Montenegro so I can whip it up here in the ship.
Now, I'm sorry, excuse my ignorance. Montenegro is what kind of spirit?
I don't know. It's some kind of liqueur. I have it at home because I searched all over to get all these ingredients. So I was making it for my friends when they came to visit.
All right, a second question. And again, this is all of your cruising, not necessarily this trip. What's your most memorable or funniest or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
Most memorable, I think, would be getting out in the middle of Copacabana Beach on New Year's Eve, watching the fireworks go off. That was amazing. There was 4 or 5, 6 ships, cruise ships, lined up along facing the beach, and you could just see the whole horizon of fireworks going off at Copacabana after we spent the whole day there in Rio. That's something I'm going to remember for a long time.
So that was on this trip. That was on this trip.
And then the sail away at night from Hong Kong was just amazing. The way they light up that city, that was fantastic.
The final question, I call this an oddball question, and it's oddball only in that it's not necessarily related to cruising. But for first, let me welcome Todd and Gina friends who are listening. We certainly hope you have enjoyed listening to the Joy of Cruising podcast, and we'll come back to listen to additional episodes, or you can follow the Joy of Cruising podcast on IG and join our Facebook group. So Todd, for your friends and for our listeners, share one thing that my listeners and your friends don't know about Todd.
There was one time I planned for 6 months to hike to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And when we got there, after all that planning and reservation making, my wife looked down and said, that's too steep. And she left me and the 2 kids. And so I hiked with my 9 and 11-year-olds down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, 8 hours down. And the next day, we spent the night at the Phantom Ranch at the bottom. And the next day, we hiked out 11 hours out.
How
Grand Canyon, 2 days.
Apropos for Father's Day. What a wonderful Father's Day story, even though you didn't mention Father's Day, but that you and your 2 kids, that's great.
It was fantastic. They were 9 and 11. We hiked out and in, and it was one hell of an experience, I'll tell you. Only like 1% of the people that ever go to the canyon ever hike in and out on foot to the bottom. I recommend it.
Todd, what do you suppose you'll do first when you get home this summer?
Laundry.
Well, I guess it's is it this fall? This fall.
Yeah, September 10th is when we get back. Well, I think we'll be taking weeks to unpack because I brought 2 giant trunks with us and about 5 or 6 suitcases. We'll be shipping packages, I think, from New York down to Florida when we pop into New York. So we'll be unpacking for a long time, and then we're gonna have a big party. I'll crack open the wine and different souvenirs I brought for friends and family along the way.
That sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking time out to come on the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you, Paul.
And all the best to you and Gina. And as I like to say, we will see you on the ocean.
Very good, Paul. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.